Camera check. Camera rolling. Sound check. Sound rolling. Broadcast check. Action. Camera check. Camera rolling. Sound check. Sound rolling. Broadcast check. Action.
Hello everyone, I'm Karl Taylor. Welcome to my studio for another Facebook and YouTube live session. Now, we had a couple of problems kicking off there. I hope you like Ben's new over-the-top dramatic intro, but basically we couldn't get that working and the internet cable fell out the back of the computer. So we had to reboot it and start again. Anyway, so I'm going to do another Q&A today. We're going to talk about a couple of different topics, talk about a couple of different things. So feel free to fire your questions in on YouTube and on Facebook. And these guys will feed them over to this iPad here, and I'll pick out the best ones and see if I can answer those for you. Now, what are we going to kick off with? Last week, what did we discuss last week, Ben? Tripods supports, camera supports, or Manfrotto? And then the week before, we did a thing on camera books and photography books. Now, talking about photography books, we often look for inspiration as photographers. I mean, that's one of the things that I try to do on YouTube with our training and our free tutorials, is inspire you guys to get out there and shoot great pictures, is what we do on our Karl Taylor education platform. But let me give you a bit of information about something. When I was very young, one of the things that actually encouraged me to be a photographer, one of the first things when I was a young teenage lad that got me interested in photography was this, and it was this magazine, National Geographic. Now, this magazine is absolutely fantastic. It's a phenomenal publication. It's been running for hundreds of years, and I love this magazine. I still buy this magazine, read this magazine. Now, this particular edition, July 2017, has got a wonderful cover shot of a diver under the Arctic ice, and it has got a brilliant photography story on that underwater world there. I mean, there's some absolutely amazing images in here, and this has always been a great inspiration for me as a photographer, you know, seeing these incredible shots. There's another article on here about these bee honey collectors as well. I mean, they actually did an article about that decades ago. I saw a similar one, but I mean, it's always fascinating. And one of the things I can say about the photography at National Geographic is that it's always of the utmost phenomenal high standard. And as photographers, there's a lot we can learn from looking at these pictures. Even just looking at the pictures and trying to figure out how they're done, how they're created, and thinking about the amount of work that went into the shots. Because we brought this up on the last show. We had a little bit of a debate about this. People were asking my tips on photography. And I said that, you know, often with good photography, you're not taking a picture, you're making a picture. And that's certainly what I do here in my studio work with my product or fashion photography, is we build the photograph to the final result. Now, a lot of people argue, well, you know, this sort of photography, like photojournalism, is different because you're basically taking a picture of something that's there. And yes, that is true to an extent, but one of the reasons that the National Geographic guys do so well is because they plan their shoots really well. They do a lot of research. They do a lot of, studying their subject matter to make sure that they understand what it is they're photographing to increase their chances. And when you think about that, that's exactly the same as making a picture. Okay, so we're making pictures, we're building pictures, and even for these guys, you know, the research and the planning and everything is what leads to the success of the photos. So National Geographic, in particular, this month's edition, July 2017, really good read. There's not a bad photo in it. Superb publication. Now, while I was looking for inspiration, I also came across my old friend Urs Recker. Now, Urs Recker is Broncolor's in-house photographer and consultant. Good friend of mine, very funny, tall Swiss guy, always makes me look even shorter than I am when we're together in videos. Now, Urs worked with me on our new light source course, which you can find on Karl Taylor Education. But this is Urs's book called Light Architecture 2, which was so popular that there's no more copies of this book left. I think they may do a PDF download on Broncolor's website, I'm not sure. But the thing that made me chuckle about this was that Urs kindly, I've been begging him for ages to get me one of these books because he only had them in Spanish left. And I said, don't you have an English copy? Anyway, he dug far and wide, trawled everywhere around the Broncolor building, and he found me an English version of the book. It's got some lovely lighting diagrams and some of his great shots and theory on lighting and everything in here. But what's amazing is this little personal message that he wrote for me in here. Let me read this out to you. For Karl, thanks for all the fun we had working together. Hope this helps you finally understand light. Yours, Urs Recker. Thanks for that, Urs. So, I think I'm quite okay with my understanding on light. Thank you very much, Mr. Recker, for your little funny joke. Much appreciated, though. Thank you for the book. Right, let's see if we got any questions coming in here that the guys are feeding across to me. Apologies again for the little bit of the disaster. We published the live, and then I think it got cancelled, and then we published another one that got cancelled. Now we are obviously live, hopefully on YouTube and Facebook. A lot of work apparently needs to go in getting the feed to go into YouTube and Facebook at the same time, because apparently YouTube and Facebook don't like each other much, you know? So they don't make it very easy to do this sort of split feed. But anyway, I think we're there now. Now, what have we got? We have got Brett Kramer. Thoughts on mirrorless technology now? With the A9 coming out, are DSLRs becoming extinct? That's a very good question, Brett. It would appear that that might be the direction it's going. And I just did a series of videos for Hasselblad on the X1D mirrorless camera. As a matter of fact, if you want to see those videos, Hasselblad have just published them all on their YouTube channel. I think they're releasing them on their social media. There's one particular video. Let me see if I've got it. Hang on a second. I can't even find my web browser. No, I haven't got it here. But anyway, there's one particular video, I think it's the one on the shutter speeds where I actually go out and use the camera and do some shoots. And we've got another one coming soon for their channel. But I did enjoy using it. I've never used a mirrorless camera for proper photography before. And as a medium format user using the H cameras here in the studio, it was interesting to use a mirrorless medium format camera. I did enjoy using it. but I still found the electronic viewfinder difficult to get on with in many ways, because not that there was anything wrong with it, it's just that I'm familiar at looking through the lens and seeing the real light, seeing the real picture that's coming in. And you know, after working like that for 25 years, you get used to it. So, so I found it a bit of an adjustment, but I guess, you know, things change, things move on. I had to move from digital to film, and that was from film to digital, and that was a hell of an adjustment back in 2005 when I first made that move. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe this will be the way it goes. That A9 camera does look pretty spectacular in what it can do. We're actually filming now on a little Sony A7 camera, which is one of the mirrorless ones, and I use the Sony for a lot of my underwater photography and dive videos, because it's a fantastic low light camera. I don't really look through the viewfinder on that. I look at the screen on the back while I'm filming, and we predominantly use it for video. So I'm still not using a mirrorless camera for stills photography, but obviously it's becoming you know, a very popular format. Will DSLRs go extinct? I don't know. I think it's too early to say. There is still something about seeing the real photons, for me, the real light coming through the picture, that you know, through the screen, that I really, really like. Right, what else we got here? Joy Rahat says, hi Karl, I saw your gel lighting tutorial. Can you go a little deep about camera setups and light setups? I did try, but my colors never look intense enough. Maybe I'm overpowering the gel light. Well, actually, overpowering the gel light is one of the problems. If you put too much power through the gel, through the colored gel, then it actually loses saturation. So sometimes by lowering the power of the light and deepen darkening the effect of that colored gel into the shadows is a better effect. If you're talking about the Broncolor how-to video that I did, where we photographed the model in the swimwear or lingerie, whatever it was, and then I lit her with the blue and the red gels, you'll see in that how-to video that my technique was to bounce the gels off of the floor, off of silver reflectors on the floor. So I was basically spreading the fill colors out a little bit more, but I was controlling the exposure very carefully in doing so. So yes, definitely don't overpower the gel color, and it's just a case of experimentation. I mean, I shoot tethered. Whether I'm shooting on a Canon or a Hasselblad, Nikon, whatever, you can still shoot tethered into Lightroom or Capture One or Focus software. You can see the result. So in seeing the result, bang, just adjust it till it looks right. Okay, Bob says, what are your thoughts on macro conversion filters to try out before spending money? I don't like macro conversion filters. If you're talking about the screw-on lenses that go on the end of a lens to make it into like a macros, like a close-up filter, not a big fan. They kind of, you get a lot of aberration and problems with the picture, especially in the corners. Not the ideal way of doing things for me. I find extension tubes work really well. As a matter of fact, for most of my product photography, I'm using the 100mm or 80mm lens on my Hasselblad, which is equivalent to about 50 and 85mm on 35mm format. And I'm using the extension tubes to get the closer focusing that I need, as opposed to using the 120mm macro. I prefer the perspective that I get by using the 80mm lens on my product photography and getting in a little bit closer. So I'd say try extension tubes first, Bob, and then that would be a cheaper option than buying a proper macro lens. And then if you decided after extension tubes you want to try macro, go from there. So there we go. Right, what do we got here? We've got loads of questions coming in here. Carl Bennett, advice on how to handle a situation where an unexpected second photographer turns up to something you've been hired for and he starts getting in the way without causing a scene and creating tension. How would you handle that situation? Well, first of all, don't worry about causing a scene and don't worry about creating tension. That's the way I would handle it. I would tell him to do one. Okay, if you've been hired as the photographer unless he's actually been hired as the photographer and the client's hired 2 photographers. But if you're there to do a job and you're getting paid to do the job, you've got to do the job to your best ability. If there's an amateur photographer there that's helping out, or a friend of the family or whatever, if it's like a wedding type thing or an event, fair enough. But have a polite word with them and say, look, you know, I'm the paid photographer, I'm here to cover this, please let me get on with my job. Obviously try and be polite. Don't cause any tension, I was just joking about that. Lynette Stewart. Your go-to lens for landscape photography. My favorite focal length for landscape photography is around about 20 to 24 millimeter. On the Canon 5D Mark III, I use the 16 to 35 millimeter 2.8L lens. That's my favorite go-to lens. On my Hasselblad, I use the 28 millimeter lens, which is equivalent to about 20 millimeter on the 35mm format. Right, let's take a couple more questions before I move on to my next subject. Jonathan Hess says, Karl, do you happen to know if Hasselblad, Broncolor looking towards lower price bracket products to compete with price trends and products in that price range? Not quite sure what you mean by that question. Hasselblad have got 2 kind of camera lines at the moment. They got the H6. Well, that's the H5, but they got the H5 still. They got the H6, which is the top-end studio cameras, okay? They got those in 50 megapixel CMOS chip and 100 megapixel CMOS chip. I've actually got the H5 in CCD chip, still in 50 megapixel. I really like it, but it's only good at low ISO, unlike the CMOS chip, which is really good at high ISO. They're sticking with those cameras because those are their pro-line cameras for photographers like me or photographers who work in studios that need that ultimate quality. They've also got the X1D line. We know that Fuji have brought out a mirrorless camera. I've not actually used the Fuji camera. I think it's slightly less expensive than the X1D. I'm not sure. Someone said that, but I don't think it's a lot. The H6 cameras have certainly come down in price, I think, now. Cheaper than the Phase cameras, so I think Hasselblad are now more competitive than Phase. And for me, I've always been a Hasselblad fan for one main reason, and that is the optical quality, the lenses. At the end of the day, it's the lens that dictates the quality of the photo far more than just the sensor or the camera body, that sort of thing. So Hasselblad all the way for me in that respect. Right, hold on. Let's take one more question here. Brian Strickler says, this is going to be about using light meters. What's going to be about using light meters? I don't understand that question. No, it's not going to be about using light meters. You know my thoughts on light meters. We'll maybe come back to that debate. We've got so many questions coming in here. Which DSLR is best for beginners? The best one that you can afford, okay? They're all good. If you can afford a full frame 35mm DSLR, that's good enough, okay? There's always this debate. Should I go Olympus? Should I go Canon? Should I go Nikon? Should I go whatever, okay? There's always this debate. But listen, it doesn't matter, okay? You want to concentrate on 2 things, 3 things. Does it have manual control so you can control the shutter speed and the aperture? Of course it does. If it's a DSLR, SLR, it's going to have manual control mode. That's what you need. Next thing is it a full frame 35mm? I prefer full frame. Full frame 35mm come down in price. We used to have APS, crop sensors and all the rest of it. If you can afford a full frame 35mm, go with that. Will one do better than the other? Maybe a tiny bit on the amount of megapixels, the amount of resolution, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you can take great images on a 12 or an 18 megapixel camera. You don't need 46 meg or 18, 22, whatever. I take amazing images on my 5D Mark III or Mark, what is it? Is it Mark III, Mark IV? Mark III, I think it's 22 megapixel. You can pick up those cameras secondhand on eBay or whatever now. So, don't get blown away with these things. Concentrate on the lenses. You'll probably end up spending far more on lenses than you did on the camera. And that's when I remember when I started out in photography, that all my work went into saving and paying for lenses to get the quality glass. So that's what I'd be considering. Okay, right, let's move on to my next topic. I'll take some more questions in a minute. First of all, I wanted to show you a little bit of a project that we worked on a while ago, but the reason that I'm bringing it up is because of this. This is the new range of filters, Pro Glass ND filters from Lee Filters, okay? Now, the Pro Glass ND filters are specifically designed for really, really neutral quality. Go back to that one full screen for me, Ben. So what you can see there is, the reason I'm showing you these pictures is because we actually shot these for Lee Filters. So first of all, we did the shoot for the Pro Cine Glass filters for the big Hollywood cinema cameras. And we also did the series of shots for the 35mm digital DSLR cameras that you can see here. And this particular shot, we came up with the idea of doing, showing how neutral they were and showing the density. So what you can see is that you can see how neutral it is through the color checker chart. To come back to me, Ben. So these filters have been going down really, really well because of their neutrality, because they are so neutral in all these different densities. Now, I use neutral density filters a hell of a lot for increasing exposure time, blocking out light. And if we go over to, where's my web browser? Let's go over to my web browser. Here we go. Let's have a look. Here we are, Lee Filters. There you can see on their website the shots that I actually took. There's an article here about cinematographers raving about these new neutral filters. And now they've released these filters for 35mm or DSLR photographers as well. So thought you might find that interesting, and also I was very happy to shoot the campaign pictures for that project for Lee. Right, what else have I got to show you? Let me just think, hang on a second, let me get my window open here. Check this out, right. This is the guy that messed up the live feed at the start here, okay? He's saying that the cable fell out the back of the camera. This is Ben, our video editor. Now, I wanted to bring this up because Ben, right, I had to do a shoot today. Just go back to the studio, Ben. I did a shoot today. I've still got it set up here. I had to do a business portrait for a client, and I used the Para 133 today for this particular client because they don't like a completely soft look. They like a little bit of contour and a little bit of shadow on there to add a little bit of drama rather than fill it in from all sides. And I love this modifier, this Para 133. This came up in last week's show. I think someone asked me what is my favorite lighting modifier. And I just wanted to show you on this picture because this is straight out of camera. As a matter of fact, you can see Ben there because I get Ben to pose for me, or one of the guys in the studio. I get them to come in and pose, as a guinea pig for me in the shot so that I can test my lighting before the client gets here so I don't have to waste the client's time in doing that. Now, if we zoom in on the shot, so this was shot on my Hasselblad, and we can see the level of detail that we get here. So look, we can go right in there. So you can see that amazing detail, how much I've zoomed in on that shot. So that's the sort of resolution I get out of my 50 megapixel. But the key thing here is look at that lovely catch light in the eyes from the sort of ring flash you get from the Para 133. But more importantly, look at the beautiful lighting that you get. You get this fantastic contoured three-dimensional lighting and the shadow, and that's a one light setup. Well, actually, no, because there's a couple of lights on the background to get me the pure white as well. But it's a beautiful, simple setup. And you can see it there in the back of the studio. It's just a one light setup with the reflector. And you get those sort of results straight out of camera. I haven't had to retouch him yet. Ben, come around, come round here. So, show someone else how to flick to this screen. Show Tim how to flick to the computer screen. And to flick back and forwards, right? Come round here, Ben. Come round here. Right. Bring him in here. Right. Look, get there. Right. This is what he looks like in real life. Look at this camera. This is what he looks like in real life. Now go back to the screen, Tim. Didn't I make him look better? I made him look way better. Go back to him, Tim. There you go. Right. I think that. Oh, good pose. Give us the Zoolander. Go back to the screen. There you go. That's what a Para 133 does for you, you see. That's a beautiful. Well done, mate. Well done. Right, back to me. Right, so you can see that this is why this lighting modifier is one of my favorites, especially for portrait work. Right, now, I can't hear what I'm saying. You guys be quiet over there, please. Right, now, what have we got here? Next question. Let's take a question in here. Softbox Live says, have you ever photographed a wedding? If not, how did you earn a living when starting out? Very good question. I have only photographed one wedding in my entire life, and that was my cousin, Tony Taylor. Very nice guy. Taught me how to ride a motorbike, actually. Got me into motorbikes when I was a kid. He's a big motorbike rider. Now, Tony, he's quite tight. He got me to photograph his wedding for him. He's divorced now, I think. Is he divorced? I don't know. But anyway, most people, you get married. I wonder if there was like a business in divorce photography. So Tony got me to photograph his wedding, and I only agreed to do it because he's like a mate of mine, and he's done me a few favors in his time. I've never done any wedding photography professionally, as in getting paid to do it at all. Not something that's ever interested me. I've got some very good friends, very good photographer friend of mine, David Stanbury, who I'm hoping to get on one of our live shows over on Karl Taylor Education soon. Is very experienced and professional wedding photographer. He does amazing work. But I've not done it. No, so if you're asking how did I start out to earn a living, well, I actually worked for other photographers and as an assistant when I started out, and then I just moved from working for other photographers to working for myself. And I first started out doing photojournalism. I was doing reportage shots. Hang on, don't bring up this yet. Let me just find my right. Okay, go to my screen there a second, Ben. Let me just enter my website. If you go into my website and you go into galleries and you go down to reportage, you'll see a bunch of pictures from my early days in photography, where I used to shoot documentary reportage photography. So this is what I started out doing, was shooting culture, people, news, travel, that sort of stuff. It's loading up a little bit slow here, probably because we're live at the moment. Okay, so that's how I started out, and that's what I did as a photographer for a while. And then after that, I assisted in commercial studios and got some experience doing that. And then I decided to move on to my own photography, and I set up my own business, and that's it. Now, actually, while we're on the subject, let's go back to my website there. While we're on the subject of my website, let me just thank our sponsors, Squarespace, right? Squarespace, this is a Squarespace website. I love my Squarespace website because it allows me to load pictures up really quickly. I can change stuff really quickly. If you'd like to get yourself a Squarespace website and save 10% off of that, then use squarespace.com/Karl with a K, K-A-R-L, and then you can get 10% off your own Squarespace website. I can thoroughly recommend them because I actually use one and I love it for my own work. So I've got all my own work on this Squarespace site. I absolutely love the way I can display my work really quickly and easily on this site. So fantastic platform for your own photography. Right, okay, let's move on to what have we got next? What do I want to talk about or rant about? We've talked about, let's tick that off. We've talked about that, we've talked about that, we've talked about that. Now, let's take a question. Let's see what we've got here. I've got the questions coming in on an iPad here. And I'm just going to see, will I be publishing a book in the future? Probably not. It's quite an expensive project. I publish all of our work now and all of our tutorials over on karltayloreducation.com. So, you know, in terms of publishing a book, if I was publishing a book as a tutorial to teach you about photography, I think actually doing it through our karltayloreducation.com platform is a much better way of you seeing how I work and the way I work and the results that I get. And it's probably cheaper anyway with our $14 a month platform. So no, I don't have any plans to publish a book anytime soon. Someone says, why are C stands so overpriced? No idea, I guess because they're very strong and durable. I use lots of C stands. You can get different brands of C stands. Avenger are a good brand. We can get you 15% discount off Avenger because Avenger is one of the products within the Manfrotto catalogue. I think Gitzo, National Geographic bags, Manfrotto, Colorama, Lastalite, all of these products. Now, as a member of KarlTaylorEducation.com, 15% off anything on Manfrotto UK website or Manfrotto USA website. Right, what else we got here? When doing product photography, do you take multiple photos in order to do an average or stacking in Photoshop to reduce noise? No, I don't. I don't have any noise to reduce, first of all, because I'm shooting on a really good camera, no problem there. I sometimes do stacking for focus stacking if I've got extreme depth of field to cover. And sometimes a couple of layers to comp together if I'm trying to blend things together. Actually, that leads me nicely. That leads me nice onto how much Photoshop work do you need in product photography? Let's go over to my screen. This video we published a while ago, and I was really proud of this video because what it did was, I mean, what are we on? 86,000 views there, 3,170 likes, 32 dislikes by a few people that had no idea about anything. And then, what we've got here is I shot this picture, and what you're seeing there, that picture doesn't have any Photoshop work. And I show you the whole process of that shoot from start to finish in that video. It's called How to Do Product Photography Tutorial by Karl Taylor. It's episode 11 of our vlog. Episode 11, we've got these previous vlog videos that we've published. That's episode 11, so go look it up, right? Check it out. You'll see how I build up a shot carefully using light. Now, while we're on the subject, I'm gonna have a little moan now, okay? Let's have a little rant, right? Where's that camera? Tim took my bloody camera. Here it is, right? He's finally bringing it back, right? There we go, right? Okay, this is my vlogging camera. It's a Sony RX100 III, right? It's got a little flip-up screen. What this does is it allows me to do this, right? So I can film. Now, here's some comments that I get in, right, on YouTube, particularly on YouTube, right? Now, I love our following on YouTube. We've got a great audience on YouTube, but you know you always get those wombats, right, that throw in the odd comment. We had a comment the other day that says, don't look at the screen, look at the lens. Okay, fair enough, right, but is it really such a big deal? I need to see the screen so I can see what I'm doing and whether I'm pointing the camera the right way. If you're getting a great free tutorial like that one on product photography, you don't need to moan about whether I'm looking at the screen. Now, another funny one with that one was, there was lots of comments. I deleted them all because I just delete them, or someone else deletes, and some of them I don't even see because people here know, right, if they're going to annoy me, they just delete them, right? Now, one of the other comments was, oh, this video was really, really shaky, and it was really shaky because I was filming myself during a photo shoot for your benefit on YouTube and showing you how I was doing everything. I was having to move around. And there was comments saying, why don't you get yourself a Came TV stabilizer to do that? Now, the fact is, we've got a Came TV stabilizer. We use it for our main tutorials when we're producing high quality, high production, paid training for our members on Karl Taylor Education. If you think I'm going to get this out instead of this every time I'm doing a free little clip for YouTube, then you are sadly mistaken. That ain't ever going to happen, okay? That ain't ever going to happen. This is what I'm going to use if I can quickly do something impromptu for you guys about what I'm doing in the studio. Now, I know a lot of you, and I know the most loyal fans out there, they love the stuff that we churn out on this thing to give you a behind the scenes, and I know most of you are really grateful for it. But the people that think that we're going to start whipping this out just to do a free little clip on a behind the scenes thing for YouTube, I'm afraid no chance. Right, okay, that little rant over. Let's move on to my next question. What have we got here? How can we order leaf filters with our member discount? Well, we can only get you the discount on the leaf filters that we sell at the moment. So you'd have to look at our gear page, and you'll see the leaf filters that we have available and the kits we have available, and those are the ones that our members can get a discount on. Now, right, hold on, I'm just going to go back here. What is the best radio trigger for Hasselblad and universal receiver? I don't know what it means by universal receiver. I use the Broncolor trigger for triggering my lights, the RFS trigger, and I use a Myops trigger for sound clashes, for triggering the camera when we have sound impact. Barry Puffy, how are you finding the market for commercial photography at the moment? Are you being squeezed on price? No, as a matter of fact, not being squeezed on price. If you want to know my pricing and what my day rate is, I actually explain this in my Business of Photography course on karltayloreducation.com. It's all there. We explain what we charge, what most photographers would charge, and what you should charge based on your skill level, etc., etc. All of that is in karltayloreducation.com in the business category. There's pricing documents that you can download. There's pricing calculators, everything there about pricing. I have never changed my prices. As a matter of fact, my prices have gone up with inflation as necessary. I'm fortunate to have a good client base and some clients that respect the work I do. I've worked with them for more than a dozen years, and they want a good job done, and they don't want to pay less money to get a bad job or risk getting a bad job done, because some of the stuff I'm shooting is going out on national or international campaigns, published in magazine advertisements, newspapers, that sort of stuff. So no, at that level, they're not really worried about the price. I mean, within reason, they're not worried about the price. But I don't think you should undersell yourself. You should value your work at what you think it's worth. We do get some odd requests from people like, oh, can you do a product shot for me for this price? And I say, no, I can't. And they say, why not? I can get it done. So we'll go and get it done there. I don't care. That's it. This is my pricing. This is the standard of my work. And this is what I do. So there you go. Right. Now, let's have a look. What else have we got? Questions. Andrew Ship says, Carl. Hello, Andrew. Can you explain the difference between DX and FX and the difference between full frame, half frame, and quarter frame? I'm afraid I don't know what DX and FX is. I think that's reference to the Nikon formats, but I'm not familiar with them. Full frame is obviously a full frame 35mm format, so that's originally 35mm was 36mm by 24mm, so a full frame 35mm digital chip should be 36 by 24 or thereabouts. I don't know what half frame, quarter frame is, but I guess it's just getting smaller and smaller chip. I'd rather always work with a full frame chip. Crin, hello Crin, says, I noticed you tend to shoot down on your subjects. Can you explain why you choose to do that? Actually, it depends on the subject. If it's a model, it varies a lot. Let's go to my website. So here I'm shooting at below eye level. Here I'm shooting at eye level. Here I'm shooting below eye level. Here I'm shooting eye level. So generally on a lot of my work I'm shooting eye level. And then if I generally have to stand on a ladder though for shooting eye level with models or shooting down. Sometimes on portrait work I shoot slightly down on them so that you can, their eyes have to open up and they have to lift their head a little bit to look into camera. It can be a nice effect for portrait work. For product photography, it's actually completely the opposite. Let's go and just take a look at some product examples. On a lot of product photography, we shoot upwards because you're trying to make the product look more important. I'm just trying to find one of the right shots here. So here we are, for example, look at this bottle of wine. You can't see the top of the bottle of wine because we're looking up at it, okay? And the reason that we do that is because it makes the product look more imposing. It makes it look more powerful. So in a lot of product photography, we shoot upwards at the product to give it that more imposing sort of look. Again, you can see here, even with this handbag shot that I've done, you're looking to the underside of the handles. So you can see I'm shooting up at the product. Okay, next question. Let's have a look here. Do you that a photographer should do only one type of photography, or is it okay to do several? I do several. I do product photography is my mainstay. I do a bit of fashion work, a bit of beauty work. I do a bit of portrait, as in business portraiture. for companies. Still do some architectural bits and pieces. So I'm what you call a sort of mixed type commercial photographer, but mostly concentrating on product and advertising photography. I think it's good to have skills to do other stuff. As a matter of fact, we've got a fantastic commercial photographer called Alex Wallace coming on our live show next Tuesday. Let me show you something about Alex's work here. Let's get rid of this horrible photo of Ben and move on to Alex. Let's take a look at some of Alex's mixed catalogue of work here. Now, Alex is a perfect example of someone who's a versatile photographer. This is some of his amazing work that we can see here. Let's just go through it. So let me just move this thing out of the way. They're really annoying, that thing. So he does all sorts of different stuff. Here's photographing the All Blacks rugby team for Adidas. Here he's doing industrial photography and turning, you know, grimy stuff into amazing pictures. Here he's doing real estate photography, which he does a lot of as well. He's doing, yeah, again, real estate stuff, business stuff, all sorts of different stuff. And he has to make all these really difficult subjects look really great. Now, Alex is going to be talking us through how he does this. He's going to be showing us these amazing techniques and all the different type of work that he does. He's going to be explaining this to us next week, next Tuesday, on our live show on Tuesday. That's available for our members on karltayloreducation.com. We're going to be taking critique as well from members. I'd like my members, Karl Taylor Education, to send in your best commercial work pictures, because I'd like Alex to take the opportunity to critique some of your work. So any of our members that are specializing in commercial photography, mixed commercial photography, take this opportunity to send them in. We're going to try and critique some of that commercial work live on the show. So please, yeah, please tune in for next Tuesday's show. What time is that show on, guys? It's on 6 p.m. British summertime, and it's 1300 EST New York time. Go on our website on the live show page. You can find out more about there. You can tune into that show. $14 membership for 1 month. And you can watch that live show. You get 2 live shows per month for our membership price as well. Right, so yeah, they've got to email, members have got to email the photos into us for that critique on that, please. Right, what else have we got? Which lights are good for product photography? Bronze color. What layout is your Squarespace website? It is a Wells layout is mine. Gavin Rooney, how do you take a selfie? No idea. Like this, I guess. Like that. Is that how you do it? I do that sometimes with my kids. I think it's like that. Or I do it like with this thing, like this selfie video. Right. Next one. Softbox. Is there any? Why does the competition end in December? Why not monthly? Do you think we can afford to give away a Canon 5D Mark IV every month, or a Rc lighting kit at $4,000 a month? No chance. Absolutely no chance. We cannot afford to do that. Maybe as we get more members that sign up for karltayloreducation.com, maybe we can move it to every 3 months. But there are a couple of reasons for this, right? First of all, really good photography competitions like Hasselblad Masters, those sort of competitions, you got like 10 months to enter the competition or something crazy like 6 months or something. We want to make sure that we get really high caliber pictures in. We want our members to have time to shoot the pictures. So our theme for our December competition is moments. We've already had some great entries in, but if you know what the theme is and you've got time, you can go out and nail the shot to try and win that Canon 5D Mark IV. So actually having some extra time available to do it is one good thing. But the real truthful reason is we just can't afford as a business to be giving away a Canon 5D Mark IV every month. And I don't really want to spend my whole time judging pictures every month. We're concentrating on our live shows, new courses for photographers. We may be able to up the competitions to every 3 months if we get more members joining us, and then we can afford to do so. But at the moment, I think we're doing a really good thing here with giving 5D Mark IVs away and giving Rc lighting kits away, because I don't see anyone else doing that. We're doing that. That's available to our members. Right, now, what else we got? What are your thoughts on wildlife photography? Well, actually, I love wildlife photography. I was just talking about that in National Geographic, you know. Some amazing work from National Geographic photographers. Nick Nichols, absolute genius at wildlife photography. Steve Winter, I think, another guy that studied under him. Some fantastic wildlife photography, and I love it. It was a really, really difficult subject to do really well. We have got a photographer coming on the show, an expert bird photographer is coming on. He's going to show us how he does amazing shots of barn owls, eagles, how he covers himself and all sorts of stuff, using these camouflage lenses and stuff. I've never done it. It requires a lot of patience. This guy's coming on the show in September. So again, for our members, you'll be able to tune in and listen to him, and he'll be giving all his top tips. Oh yeah, this is not like this live show, okay? Ben's just pointed out that this disaster that didn't even where they didn't plug it in properly, didn't go well. These are just our little fun things on Facebook and YouTube to let you see what we do and talk about our brand and talk about stuff going on. Our main live shows are like polished BBC productions. They're even better than BBC productions because the stuff we talk about is so cool. Anyway, right, what's next? Barry says, do you employ an art director? If not, how do you work out how to shoot different? I don't employ an art director. There is always an art director on an advertising shoot. So if we're doing an advertising shoot, the advertising agency has an art director that they send on the shoot, and he directs the shoot based on the client, what they want, and the market research. So you're normally working to a very strict brief of what the picture needs to be. So it's not me that employs an art director. The ad agency would provide an art director, or the client if it's a big company. Some of the big companies I shoot for, they've got their own in-house team of creatives, and one of those would come and art direct the shoot. Corinne, what's your view on using watermarks on your images? Would you use them? Why not? Are there situations where you recommend them? I don't use watermarks in the middle of my picture. I just put a little Karl Taylor copyright in the corner because I don't want to spoil the picture. I have to hope, and luckily I have been lucky, because when people have stolen my pictures off my website, sooner or later they get caught, because we're obviously fairly well known. We've got a lot of followers, and what happens is that one of our followers spots one of my pictures being used somewhere, and then they tell me about it, and then I get to make some extra money by sending them an invoice or taking them to court. So yeah, the answer is, Corinne, I don't really like them, but you know, it's up to you. I think if they're discreet and they don't interfere with the work too much, then great. But it's a question of how worried you are about people ripping off your pictures. Wonder Shepherd says, hello from BC in Canada. Hello there in Canada. Karl, what was the first camera you ever used, and what inspired you to get into photography? The first camera I ever took a proper photo on, as in an SLR, not DSLR, because there was no digital then, was an SLR called a Minolta X700, and I was using a 500mm Tamron lens, which is was a catadioptric lens, which is a mirror lens, short lens, but very high power focal length, but has a fixed aperture of f8. And I photographed a horse galloping on a beach. And I was loaned the camera to try. I used to do art and design was what I used to do, and then I had this opportunity to try using this camera. Anyway, when I got the film developed and I looked at the results, I was fascinated by how I'd frozen this horse galloping, frozen it perfectly, all the hoof, the legs, everything, the splashes of water, everything just fascinated me, absolutely fascinated me. And from that moment on, was totally hooked, and went on to continue my career in photography. But when I was younger, when I was a teenager, as I was saying earlier, this is what gave me the most inspiration, is reading National Geographic and being fascinated by the pictures and the stories in there. So, you know, photographers like Jodie Cobb, Sam Abel, Steve McCurry, these guys over at National Geographic, they were what inspired me to get into photography. And then later on in photography, I started, you know, looking at photographers like Bob Carlos Clark on the fashion stuff, Patrick Litchfield, Rankin, all sorts of people inspired me then with more commercial fashion work. And then I ended up going into product photography because I like the technicalities of controlling light and trying to solve problems. Right, what else we got? Dosh Doctor, here's a question, Carl. If you weren't doing photography, what would you be doing today? I would be an underwater cameraman for the BBC. That's what I would love to be doing if I wasn't doing photography, because my other passion is diving. I do a lot of diving, including technical diving, and I do underwater video for my own hobby and passion. I would love to, say, for example, be a cameraman on, say, the Blue Planet. There's a new Blue Planet coming out. The BBC are bringing out Blue Planet 2. I'm looking forward to that. Body Snatch Carl, can you explain a shot on your page? The lady with the 6-foot moving light pole was standing alone like... Oh, I get the one. I know the one. Let me get out of this a second. Let me get to the website. Let's take a look at that picture that he's talking about. It's on this page. Or it should be on this page. Come on, load faster, internet. It's down here somewhere. There it is, this one. Let's bring this up full screen. Let me bring it up. Come on, load up. Okay, right, while we're waiting for that picture to load up, first of all, it was part of a brief from a client to produce a science fiction style theme picture, and we wanted to create this sort of unity with this force field look. So I wanted to, right, the picture is up now. I wanted to create a look of a force field around the android or the model. The model was Karina White, very good model. She played the part of the android really well. And I set up a number of lighting scenarios where I made it look like she was in a cage. In this one, I wanted it to look like she was in a force field. So what I did was I had my assistant, Fabian, dressed up like a ninja in black so that you couldn't see her. And she held the light tube hanging, you know, holding it up high from one hand, and then she basically walked around the model waving the light tube as she went around on an 11-second exposure. And then I got the model Karina to stay still for the 11 seconds, and she was basically in the dark because the light tube wasn't really illuminating her much. And then at the end of the exposure, the flashes, the broncolor strip light flashes that I had positioned, popped a bit of flash into her so that I illuminated her with very similar lighting to what you would get from the flash tube. So, Emma said she's going to put some links to a YouTube video where you can see some of that shoot take place. So basically that's how I did it. And one of the things I'm really proud about with this particular picture is that there's virtually no Photoshop. All I had to retouch out of this picture was some footprints on the ground and one of the legs from one of the studio lights that was coming into the shot. But the whole shot was captured as one in an 11-second exposure. And the other really interesting thing about it was I had to use a neutral density filter at the same time, and I had to pull the neutral density filter out during the exposure. So I managed to capture the shot and do the flash and change a filter during the exposure, and it was all captured in one shot. So there we go. That explains how we did it. Right, next. Need more cute owls as well as foxes, otters, and their cuteness levels are highly astronomical. What the goodness gracious is that? Okay, Razor, tune in to our members, karltayloreducation.com in September. You will see lots of cute owl pictures as our guest photographer, who's a wildlife photographer, bird photographer, is coming in on that one. Now, someone else says, Lins Grafiska, could you explain for a Swedish guy what a C-stand is? You talked about it regarding pricing, but I've never got the hang of what it is. Let me get one. Where is a C-stand? There's one, but it's got a light on. I want one with just an arm on it. Have they got this one? Hold on, this one's got an arm. Let me take this lamp head off. Maybe Tim can bring that over for me, that one. Let's try and knock anything over here. Got loads of expensive lighting kit. So what we've got here is a C-stand. This is a C-stand. So a C-stand has a different type of leg, the way it works. You can also raise one of the legs independently if you're working on different levels and different things like that. But the most important thing about a C-stand is they are extremely strong. Let me just see, where can we put this so you can see? So they are really, really strong. You know, I can bounce up and down on this. So we use them more for rigging and holding stuff. And this is a grip arm. And the grip arms are one of the things that you usually buy with a C-stand that fits on top. You can attach lights on these so you can get lights down low. But most importantly, what I use these for is actually for holding stuff and clamping reflectors and things like that. Now, if you want to know all the ins and outs on C-stands, we've got great video on my new course Light Source, which is available on karltayloreducation.com for just $14. Not only do I take you through all the lighting theory and everything you need to know about studio lighting, I actually cover a whole chapter on clamps, grips and stuff that's useful for studio photography, and stands, support, C-stands and everything you need to know about them. So check that out. You what, sorry? Oh yeah, and they've all got equipment lists, so each photo shoot tells you every bit of equipment that I used. Right, what else we got? Any more questions coming in here? Why is this thing, there we go, right, there's a window popped up, I couldn't see what I was doing. What have I got? Oh yeah, before I take any more questions, I want to show you my wall, right? A couple of weeks ago, I did a wall, we built a new wall for the studio, so it's finished now. Here is the wall that we made, and you can see I got it on wheels. Now this is really, really useful. Let me move that chair out of the way so you can see. So you can see I had the metal worker make this frame to build me this wall on wheels so that I can use this as a mobile background so we don't have to paint the cove as much, because this is 8 foot by 8 foot square, 2 panels. Painted it grey, because I use grey a lot as my background, but also painted white. I've got to do a little bit more work finishing this off. There's 2 MDF boards, 4 foot by 8 foot, side by side, making an 8 foot square, but really worked out well with the mobile wheels. And I can also use it, because I got one side grey, but I got one side white, so I can use it as a giant reflector panel as well, or a white background. This is so good. I'm so happy with this that I think I'm going to get some more made. I might even make a bigger one, because this is really, really useful for even product photography, all sorts of stuff for creating a huge big reflector panel. So that's the wall finished. Really pleased with that. And this is, see here's something to point out. A lot of stuff we do for product photography, and I cover this in our courses, we make stuff. We get metal workers to build things, make things for us, because some of the tools that you need, they're not actually available. I tell you about all this and I teach you all about this, karltayloreducation.com. Right, now, pushing that wall, put me out of breath. Right, now what do we got here? Lot Simons, Karl. I do equine photography and animal portraits. Would you ever consider doing a tutorial for studio lighting on animals? Actually, I want to do a series of shots on farm animals in my studio at some point. I've got this project in mind for a long time. I hope Tim Flack doesn't beat me to it. Now, if you want to check out a great animal photographer, you may have even heard of him. Tim Flack does some incredible work. He shoots animals. He does a lot of horses, all sorts of wild animals. I think he's working on a new book called Endangered at the moment. Check out his work if you haven't heard of him. He has got some great photography. I don't think he gives away any tips. I'd love to get Tim in on one of our shows in the future. So if you're listening, Tim, contact me. It'd be good to get you in. I don't have any tips, I'm afraid. Not something I've really done, apart from we did one shot of an eagle once flying in the studio. That took quite a bit of work. Let me see if I can find it. Overview page. Is the eagle on here? There he is, there's the eagle. So I took that shot once. That's a live animal, as you can see, because it's in flight and it's not stuffed. Doesn't matter, it's still alive, isn't it? Yeah, it's still going. So that bird performed for us in the studio. We got that to fly across the studio. So yeah, that's the only animal shot that I've ever done, apart from some other portraits of that particular eagle, or Harris hawk it is actually, Harris hawk. Oh yeah, no, there is a how-to video. Yeah, there's a how-to video on Broncolor's how-to section that Urs Recker did on some horse photography. Right, now, what are we going to wrap this up soon? Right, so I just said to you, our next live show with Alex Wallace, next Tuesday. Got a couple more things to cover here. Finish my wall, let's finish. Moaned about the people moaning about my shaky camera. What is this for? Someone's passed me a MyOps trigger.
It's a question.
What question? I don't see a question about MyOps trigger.
Light triggers.
Where? So which questions? Because someone come here and show me on this thing. There is no, or repost the question because I don't see a question there.
Someone asked
Yep.
where the triggers are they available in Europe?
They're available on our website. Okay. This is the MyOps trigger. Now we just had a bit of an argument with MyOps actually. Let me tell you why. Right. I'm going to bring this up because I had a little bit of moan. The guy from MyOps. We produced a video about how we use the MyOps triggers. And we made that video for ourselves because we sell the MyOps trigger, okay? We sell it in our shop. And we appreciate it when our customers go and buy the MyOps trigger from our shop because this is obviously good for our business. So we made a special video of all the photo shoots where I'd used MyOps triggers. Ben went to the trouble of editing it and putting it together. And just to make sure no one stole it, he put a big Karl Taylor photography thing right across the bottom third of the video. And then, do you know what they did? They nicked it, they stole it, and rebranded it with their own orange stripe over the top of it. And then every one of their distributors was using our video that we made. So I soon put a stop to that. Okay?
Thanks to the customer.
Yes, yes. But oh yeah, and thank you to one of our customers that actually showed it to us and said that, hey, this is your video and someone else is using it. But anyway, we've still got a good relationship with MyOps. They do make a nice trigger. We sell this in our gear page, gear shop. Right, is that what you wanted to know? That was it, right. You get 15% off if you're a member of Karl Taylor Education. You get 15% off MyOps triggers and other stuff. Manfrotto, Gitzo, Lastalite, National Geographic bags, what else? Right, someone's laughing their head off over there. Something really funny must have happened. I don't know what it is. Right, I'm going to take the next question. Should you interrupt me with what's so funny? Come on, tell me. Is there a question? If someone said kiss me, why are you not putting that through as a comment? I haven't got it here. You're not giving me these comments, for goodness sake. Right, I've got loads of comments. Right, we're going to have to speed this up. 2016 says, kiss me, Karl. Mwah. Right, there we go. Right, now, moving on. Right, critiques. Here's a quick one for you. Right, I'm going to throw this at you. Right, Squarespace is sponsoring this episode, right? You can get 10% off a Squarespace website with the offer code Karl, squarespace.com/Karl. Right, here's one for you. Right, I'm going to do a critique. I'm not going to critique your pictures. First person who sends me their link to their website, I will quickly critique your website, the layout of it, the look of it, or anything. So paste your URL of your website in, see what comes in. So I'll take another question while we're waiting for that. Right, Ben Madika says, do you have any suggestions for picking a personal project, i.e. a theme for a photo book or something? I know I should pick, hold that website for a minute, I'm going to come to that. It says, do you have a theme for a photo book or something? I know I should pick things I'm passionate about. There's so many possibilities. Yeah, go with your passion, okay? Ben, go with your passion, right? I've got this idea of doing this series of farm animal pictures because I just think it'll make a really cool project. I haven't got time to get round to it at the moment. There are so many ideas floating around my head for photo shoots, but the problem is I've got to run a business, I've got to do other things. What I try to do with some of my stuff is that I sometimes try and turn my ideas into photo tutorials so that I can actually justify shooting it, because then it can at least turn into something for the business as well. Right, what other questions? Well, I'd love to see you do a demo on lighting for a mature model. It'd be great to see the techniques on how to soften an older face with some character. Who said that? That's Brian Stricker. Brian, is this not an older face to you? This is an old face, right? I'm getting on a little bit now. Now, actually, in Light Source, we do a great shot. Urs Rekka does a shot of me, and I thought he made me look quite good, actually. So there is that as a tutorial. But I know what you mean, Brian. We'll keep it in mind for maybe a future tutorial. Joyce says, what type of grey? Grey is grey. Grey, there is only one grey. There's only different levels of luminosity of grey, okay? You can get grey in grey, and that is it, okay? Grey, if it's proper grey, means it's neutral. It means it is completely neutral. You can only get different levels of luminosity of grey. So choose wisely when you choose a paint. Choose wisely when you choose background, a roll of paper. Right, next, blah, blah, blah. Right, John wants to see Fabian on screen. Fabian doesn't work here anymore, John. Fabian, we still speak to Fabian. She pops in from time to time with her baby. She's got another baby on the way. Fabian left us, when did she leave? About a year ago? So Fabian left us a year ago to have a baby, and then she went and got a new job because she needed part-time hours, and now I think she's leaving that job because she's having another baby, so she's just sprouting out babies at the moment, I'm afraid, John. Right, now, what else we got here? Vlogs. What is the huge whiteboard thing behind you? The Cove. This, what is that thing there? This is the Cove. This is an infinity cove that you use in a studio background when you want a seamless empty background. We can paint it different colors. We rent the studio out for filming. We can paint it green screen. We use it for ourselves. We use it for people of film crews, rent it, all sorts of stuff. That's what it is, and that's what it's for. Now, as a matter of actually, let's go back. Let's just go back to, for example, that picture there is what a cove is for. There you go. There's the cove being used. Bring me up small screen in the picture-in-picture. So there, just there, that wall there is that wall that is behind Deborah Frey, our model there. So that's what you use a cove for. Okay, back to me, please. Right, now, has someone posted a website to us yet? There it is, right? Right, before we do that website as our final thing, right, I'm just doing this for a quick thing just because Squarespace is sponsoring this episode. First of all, we got Felix Leclerc says, hi Carl, thoughts on clamshell lighting in portraits? I love the look, but sometimes feel cliche and overdone. Any ideas on how to bring this to life? Well, yeah, there's lots of ideas on how to bring it to life. If we go to my people gallery here a second, we've got some clamshell lighting. I use clamshell from time to time, but what I use is I use different modifiers. I'm not sure we got time to wait for all these to load in. Anyway, forget about that, right? So I use some clamshell lighting setup. Sometimes I just offset the light a little bit. Sometimes I use a beauty dish, sometimes a para, sometimes softbox. There are certain scenarios where you might want to use one of those lights for different types of looking people. But I show you a side-by-side demonstration of different clamshell lighting setups in Light Source, our brand new course, karltayloreducation.com. I can't make that any clearer, right? Go back to the website. They are karltayloreducation.com. In the portrait section, notice we've got essentials, which is for beginners. We've got advanced, we've got portrait, studio lighting, natural light portraiture, fashion photography, product photography, post-production, business, equipment, downloads. We've got live shows. We've got member discounts. We've got everything. We've got download stuff. We've got prizes, competitions. You can get all of this. Look at this for $14. $14 per month, I hear you say. That's incredible value, okay? Incredible. So go over there and check it out there, Felix. And there we go. Right, let me bring up this guy's website. We're gonna finish this off with a quick critique on a website. Now, I'm not critiquing. I am not critiquing the photos. Okay, that is not the purpose of what I'm going to do here. I don't do photo critiques on this thing here. Okay, you can see photo critiques over on Karl Taylor Education on our live shows, but I'm not doing that on this platform here. I'm going to critique this guy's website. As what I think of the website, seeing this is a Squarespace sponsored, how do we spell it? AJ Sartor. So was he the first one in? He was the quickest on the fingertips on the keyboard to get his website. It says have I typed it wrong? Wait a minute. AJ Sartor.
Go on Facebook and don't type it in, Emma.
No, I've got it typed in correctly. HTTP. Just Google it, right? AJ Sartor. This one, AJ Sartor Photography. This one. Okay, right. Well, look, AJ has gone for looks like a Squarespace Wells theme, exactly the same as I use. So there's not a lot I can critique about it, because if I say there's anything wrong with his website, it means mine's not very good layout either. So as I said, I'm not critiquing the work. Looks like AJ does a lot of street photography. Looks like he's got some nice stuff there, but I'm not getting into critiquing the work here. I was only going to critique the actual website itself. And look at this, look, he's even using people, places, things. He's got a few different categories there. He's got blog, contact. So in terms of it, simplicity, come back to me, Ben. So well done, AJ, for using a Squarespace website. He was the quickest one getting one in there. And he's got exactly the same template that I use. Oh yeah, did he get 10% off using the Karl code? I don't know. But anyway, what I like about websites is simplicity. A website should serve a purpose. It's to demonstrate your work to potential clients, and it should be easy to navigate. It should be easy to find what I'm looking for. So many websites make you jump through hoops. You got to get through this, get through that, and you got to click this, and then there's all these fancy things that happen. People get bored with all that nonsense, okay? People are busy, especially clients and customers. They're so busy, they don't have time to wait for all that nonsense to load up. You want simplicity and clarity. That's exactly what my motto is in our education as well. KarlTaylorEducation.com, simplicity and clarity. I get to the point and I show you the real stuff that will make your photography better, and I do it very clearly, concisely, and quickly. And I think a website should be exactly the same. Right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your questions. And don't forget, we have got a fantastic live show with Alex Wallace next week on Tuesday. Actually, one more thing before we go, I forgot. We have got another great live show, food photography. If you're into food photography, then check this out, okay? This young lady, Anya from Russia, from Moscow, Anya Pustinikova, I can't say the last name very well because my Russian is not too good. She does beautiful food photography. She's a food stylist, food photographer. She does all her own cooking, preparation, prop sourcing, styling, everything. She's coming on the show live so that we can do some food photography together. And she's going to create these amazing dishes. We're going to produce a range of new courses on food photography, but we're also going to attempt to do one of these things live. So she's going to cook, prepare, style, and we're going to shoot it live. How's that for a challenge? You don't see that happening anywhere else. No one else is doing this sort of challenging stuff live. KarlTaylorEducation.com, you will see that happen, and you'll see it for $14 a month, 2 live shows a month, new courses each month, loads of stuff. Go check it out. If you haven't checked out KarlTaylorEducation.com, you are missing out big style. We're going to elevate your photography to the next level. Look, I'm sounding like our marketing guy with some nonsense spiel there. Anyway, check out her work, Anna's work on our website. She's got some great stuff. You can see the new courses that are coming soon. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Karl Taylor. We hope you enjoyed this Facebook, YouTube Live. We'll see you next time.